From Just As I Remember, Andrew Moir. Andrew, thank you. Just As I Remember is the documentary started at ALS. And then from the Commute, we have here Jake Alexander McAfee. Jake, the film we just saw now. Keep the Change, Miss Rachel Israel. And we also have here from the Commute, George Gallego. And I noticed in the audience, actually, Rachel, from your film, you have a few person, Samantha. Folks, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being a part. We'll pass around some mics also. Some people didn't get. I got another one here in my hand. I want to start very quickly just by telling you very briefly, and we got to be quick here because we're short on time, how you got your project started, how you decided to make your film, what inspired you, and let's start with you.
I had been friends with Emmett for a number of years before making the film, and I thought he had a great story, especially with him being an artist.
Thank you, Andrew.
My film was a school project, so I just needed to make a project for school.
And how did you find them? How did you?
I found that family. Well, I didn't want to make a film about a family that was similar to my own, so I just went to the ALS Society of Ontario in Canada and just met with a bunch of families, and that was they were actually the first one that I met, but I think they were okay, so that's what I did.
Rachel.
I was friends also for a long time with the male lead of my film, Brandon Polanski, and the film, the inspiration for the film came about from my seeing him meet his first girlfriend. I've known him for about 11 years now, and seeing him meet his first serious girlfriend at adaptations. So that's how it started.
Thanks for the shout out here. Jake.
Well, I was actually on a train, and the announcement came across that the elevator was out, and that was the end of the announcement. And I thought to myself, if I were using a wheelchair, that would be terrible because I didn't know where I was going. 2 days later, Goodwill Industries came to me and said they saw ReelAbilities from last year, and they said they're really moved by it and they wanted to make something. I said I got a pretty good story I would like to tell, so that's how the Commute came about.
So initially I got involved because folks at Goodwill contacted me. They were looking for a male actor that was also a wheelchair user to play this role. And we had a tough time finding someone that was willing, that actually had the time to do it and was willing to do it. So since we faced those challenges, I decided to just do it myself.
I co-starred in Rachel's film as Sarah, the performer. When we saw how my movie came about is we had a lot of hardships in that movie. It's about two of us, Brandon and I, Dave and I, with intellectual learning disabilities who struggled to connect. And it had the emotions and the musical components, and it was the hard times, but it was learning how to deal with the hardships and overcome the pain what really made the difference. Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you all so much. The films are so beautiful. I want to ask you, I want to first of all say that just because two of these films are inspired by things that go on here at the JCC and ReelAbilities, actually, I think these films were selected pretty much regardless, just because they were wonderful films and all of them. Jamie, I'm going to start with you again. Your film, one of the things I loved about it was that underwater element as a way to express what it's like for someone with disabilities. How did that idea come to you?
I had seen a film called Diving Bell and the Butterfly about a man who had a stroke, and the way that the metaphor that he had used for having a stroke was, it was like being in a diving bell where you can't physically move. And the film is based off of an interview that I did with Emmett. And so all the visuals are driven through him after explaining a lot to me. And so when he talks a lot about not being able to communicate with people and having people misunderstand him. And so I thought that the metaphors just fit together very nicely.
Great. And for just because we're short on time, I'm going to ask the rest of you actually the same question, which is the impact of these films. These films are short, but they have a strong punch. And what are your hopes for the impact with these films? Where do you want these? How do you want these films to affect our society? Andrew.
Ultimately, I really want the film to be seen by as many parents with young kids who are facing any sort of disability or terminal illness. Just because I think that there's a lot, especially as being parents who had ALS with younger kids, there was just so much anxiety about, what's going to happen after I die, or what's going to happen after I get really severely disabled to my children. But they'll be, either way, they'll be okay. So I just wanted to give parents not an unrealistic sense of hope that everything's going to be perfect, but that their kids will be okay. You love them.
I think it stemmed from my relationship with Brandon, and coming from my position of not have known anything about autism. The understanding that I gained from my relationship with him is something I wanted to bring to a film. I wanted to make a film that was highly subjective about a person with a developmental delay.
Well, I just really wanted to take a typical everyday person who makes a commute to go along on the journey of a person that uses a wheelchair. So many times we see people in wheelchairs and people with different impairments, and we just keep going by our day. And I just wanted to share a little bit of what people go through on an everyday basis, not necessarily just with the train, but with cracks in the sidewalks and trying to cross houses on streets and things of that nature, and trying to catch cabs and things of that nature. So that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to expose what people have to go through on a daily basis that typical people take for granted. So.
I think that generally people from my community tend to be left out of conversations and left out of many things that go on in life. And I think that what I hope the outcome is from these films is that folks with disabilities learn to embrace themselves and learn to love themselves, and that society finally learns to embrace us for who we are.
I'm also hoping and praying that we don't have any more emotional pressure, that we work to lessen the anxiety with Brandon playing David, Mia, Sarah, so we don't have any more stress, that we're able to work to overcome our struggles and our hardships with Brandon and I in the beach pulling theater. That's where it's going in the future in the summer.
Oh.
Next year we will.
Just right quick, one of the other things, and I'm really proud of all these films. I'm actually really pleased that the Commute is actually a part of this. But people with various disabilities, and they're not looking for sympathy, and that was the one thing I wanted to come across in the Commute. I didn't want the viewers to feel sorry for that character. Just wanted to highlight that, and I think that's what I was really happy to see with a lot of the films here. It's not poor me type of deal, and that was really appreciated.
And I think actually that, first of all, there was such a diversity in all the films that we saw here, and all of them, what connects them is actually that nuanced day-to-day life that is not, I'd like to think, the cliche projections of people with disabilities, but rather the real life. And I think you all did a fabulous job in bringing that to us, so thank you very much. Folks,